2022 has been another crazy year, but yet another great one for video game discoveries. This is why today we're diving into the top 10 video game discoveries of 2022. Brought to you by War Thunder. Escape all the craziness on the virtual battlefield. Available now on PC, PlayStation 5, or Xbox Series X and S, as well as previous gen consoles. With more than 2,000 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from the 1920s to present day, War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game available. Register with my link down below on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox and receive a free bonus pack that includes premium vehicles, a premium count, boosters, and more. Use my link down below and check out War Thunder today. Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite came out in December of last year as the long-awaited next-gen installment in Bungie's popular first-person shooter franchise. Players everywhere like myself were excited to play the game cooperatively with a friend, just as every Halo has ever allowed before, until the game was released and ended up being the first Halo ever not to come fully ready with any co-op at all, which was honestly bold considering it's been a staple of the series. And plus, fans were promised that every future Halo installment will include even local on-the-couch co-op after backlash following Halo 5's release without the feature. Although that one at least had online co-op. Though online co-op was finally added to the game in the winter update in November. Developer 343 crushed everyone when it announced plans to add split-screen co-op to the game were cancelled in favor of allocating more resources elsewhere. What? However, Zenny IC on Twitter discovered by loading a campaign save while another friend is online, starting the mission, then joining their online friend's party as soon as the game says it's loading the map. You could then leave the party, connect a second controller profile, start the match, and suddenly, you would be loaded in the campaign with split screen and a second Master Chief, revealing that local co-op is still in the game after all, making it all the more baffling why they would choose to cancel the local co-op in the first place. Sure, it's a bit glitchy, but it works. It's just a huge pain in the ass to get to every time. 343 seriously thought they could deny us of local co-op. Well, we found it, so take that. Seriously, what the f were these guys thinking? 343, please make this an official feature in the game. Hitman 2. Silent Assassin. Thanks to kecuz for submitting this discovery on the oddheader Discord. Silent Assassin is the second installment in the Hitman series released in 2002 by Danish developer IO Interactive. The game is much more stealth-oriented than the previous installment, though it appears one of the developers was quite stealthy themselves considering a new discovery was found for the first time this year. As kecuz noticed on the mission St. Petersburg Revisited, there appeared to be some sort of red text and an image on the wall in the distance, but that it would disappear as soon as they moved closer to investigate what it might say. Seeing this, I immediately asked my friend and hacker Slippy Slides to investigate it, and he was able to hack the game to force the mystery graffiti to stay put when the player was up close, and managed to find for the first time 2 decades after the game's release that the text read "Death to the Legal Department," accompanied by a drawing of a skull. The message also says "Uv ov ov," which doesn't seem to mean anything in Danish as far as Google Translate can tell me. Not sure why the developers had a bone to pick with the legal department, though it does appear they were forced by the legal team to remove something. Whatever it is, it's a shame it ended up removed from the game, though it must have been pretty awesome if they wanted to wish death on the legal department over it. Jeez. Sanitarium. Thanks to HajimeTheFool, the Easter egg archive, for submitting this discovery on the oddheader Discord. Sanitarium is a psychological horror point-and-click adventure and one of my favorite games ever. Released in 1998 for Windows, Sanitarium opens on a man who makes a phone call claiming he's found the answer, before driving off a cliff and awakening in an asylum with no idea who he is or why he's there. While Sanitarium is full of disturbing mysteries, One Short Eye revealed a new discovery in the game that appears to completely defy explanation, as One Short Eye revealed an Easter egg that was found for the first time in 23 years when support was recently made to run the game on the Scum VM emulator, allowing the game to be played on a new array of platforms. As when the player gets to Chapter 7, the Morgue and Cemetery, if you were to walk up to some trees and press Control and left click, which is a button combo never normally used in the game, a dancing spork with a face jumps out to perform for you, I guess? The fork? I'm completely at a loss here. Clicking on Sporky triggers a few of the protagonist's standard responses, but clicking on it a few more times reveals the line, "Burn, baby, burn," which doesn't seem to be a normal line in the game, and it's speculated by some like One Short Eye to be recorded by an entirely different voice actor. Though I think my voice would sound different too if I happened upon an anthropomorphic spork getting down with itself. No other dancing sporks have ever been found in the game, as one would probably assume. Out of all the disturbing and crazy things that the protagonist sees in this game, Sporky here may just take the cake for weirdest of them all. Titanfall 2. Thanks to GunYosha for submitting this discovery on the oddheader Discord. Titanfall 2 is the 2016 sci-fi first-person shooter game developed by Respawn Entertainment, before launching the highly successful Apex Legends. In March of this year, the game's narrative historian David Bartle tweeted there's an Easter egg in the game's campaign that no one's found yet, and after the comments claiming he was lying came in, he gave out a hint. I booted the game, loaded the closest checkpoint, got to the place, repeated certain action a lot, and bam, open sesame. Pretty vague hint which had some thinking it might be a few weeks or months before it was found, as many people continue to ask for more hints. Then, only 16 hours later, Next tweeted that by doing the time swap maneuver 88 times outside this door, they got it to open and found a zombie dude doing the splits across some tables. Well, it turns out time swapping 88 times outside this door is a reference to the DeLorean having to hit 88 miles per hour to jump time in Back to the Future. And this dude here is a reference to the 1994 sci-fi Jean-Claude Van Damme film Time Cop, where he does the splits in this classic scene to avoid being electrocuted when being ambushed in his own home. Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits was actually a signature move of the martial artist, which as you can see he looked pretty Van Damme good when doing it, unlike this guy who's certainly seen better days. Ratchet and Clank, Size Matters. Thanks to CycloneJoker and Cupta for submitting this discovery through oddheader.com. Ratchet and Clank Size Matters is the 6th installment in the series, released in 2007 on the PlayStation Portable and later on the PlayStation 2. In the game, there are 20 titanium bolts hidden throughout each level that the player can collect, except one of these bolts in the dream level is extremely difficult to obtain, as the player has to shoot their weapon at a seemingly random spot that teleports them to another part of the level, and if they fail to collect the bolt while warping, they must restart the level. However, it turns out the developers left an extremely obscure hint on how to collect this bolt that was finally discovered for the first time this year, as if the player were to remain idle for an entire minute near this giant crab without shooting it, the game will say attack its weak point for massive damage. The hint is actually a reference to an old meme from 2006, when at E3 that year, during the Sony conference, a representative touted the historical accuracy of Genji Days of the Blade before showing off the game.
Based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan.
Only as soon as the game started, he was immediately met with a giant enemy crab ready to whoop some ass, because that definitely happened in ancient Japan. The presenter then says,
attack its weak point for massive damage,
which is exactly the same as his newfound Ratchet and Clank hint. Well, that could have been more helpful, and the joke would have been more relevant too if it didn't take 15 years to figure it out. 15 years later, and this guy's still not living this down.
Attack its weak point for massive damage.
Rogue Legacy 2. Thanks to Shotgun for submitting this mystery on the oddheader Discord. Rogue Legacy 2 originally released in 2020 early access as the second entry in the series by Cellar Door Games, the indie development team founded by brothers Kenny and Teddy Lee. The platformer dungeon crawler series is credited with kicking off the roguelite subgenre, paving the way for other popular titles such as Hades. In Rogue Legacy, players must make their way through procedurally generated dungeons, fighting enemies and finding treasure. But Shotgun found something unexpected in the Void Beast Murmur dungeon that seems clear the developer didn't want anyone to find, as in the room, faintly in the background audio is what sounded like some gibberish whispering, which Shotgun thought sounded like a backwards message. True to their theory, Shotgun reversed the audio and found it was indeed a backwards message, though it certainly wasn't what they were expecting to hear. As it turns out, it said, thanks for sharing. Not sure why the developer used a message like this for creepy audio, but having your wife find out about something like this is a truly horrifying thought. Mortal Kombat. Deception. Thanks to WinkingCrash for submitting this discovery to me on oddheader.com. 2004's Mortal Kombat Deception is the 6th main installment in Midway's famous fighting franchise, released on the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. Series co-creator Ed Boon said he wanted to make the game unpredictable. Though hacker Ermacker made a recent discovery, I doubt Boon himself ever predicted anyone to find in the year 2022. As Ermacker discovered just this year, 18 years after the game's release, a lost stage in the code called Catacombs, spelled with a K of course, was able to be restored and shown off here. The catacombs appear to be a stone temple atop a snow-capped mountain, with a reflective floor flickering as disembodied moans add an ambience to the environment. Creepy, with a capital K of course. Even more capital K creepy is what Ermacker found along with the level, as when zooming out to view the entire stage, you can see a Giant mouth with sharp teeth raced through the floor. Is that an Alaskan bullworm? Whatever giant creature these chompers belong to, it's pretty certain you wouldn't have wanted to get anywhere near it. As some Mortal Kombat fans think this worm mouth looks like it could have been used for fatalities on this level, and they may be onto something, considering some of the over-the-top fatalities in this game almost appear to be a parody of the series itself. Considering all the insane fatalities that made it into the game, a giant carnivorous worm coming out of the floor to chomp players to bits may have actually been cut for being too predictable. Pardon me, that's carnivorous with a K. Aviary Attorney. Thanks to TheTruCloud for submitting this discovery on oddheader.com. 2015's Aviary Attorney is a reimagining of Capcom's popular Ace Attorney series, set in 1848 Paris following a bird defense lawyer. The game is animated using the public domain works of French caricature artist J.J. Granville, who depicted French nobility as animals in the 19th century. TruCloud was playing the game when they hacked it to have vertical resolution and discovered something that they weren't meant to find, as before the game even begins, the characters appear on a stage with no text box visible, unless you stretch the screen vertically like TruCloud, which reveals a secret message from the developer. What is this? Some sort of meta joke? But the only people who ever read this will be Snoopy modders. Modders? It's a future thing. You wouldn't understand. Well, apparently the future is now, and we're pretty Snoopy. Although modders might have been a foreign concept to 1848 Parisian animals, they were correct about a modder finding the message in the future, 7 years after the game's release. In true Aviary Attorney fashion, you just need a bird's eye view of the game to find it. Attacking Zegeta 2. Thanks to A1R Pun, bobwillneverdie, Petrovski, Shopmations, consoleaction, and Something Man for submitting these discoveries on the Oddheader Discord. Attacking Zegeta 2 is a game I previously covered in my 7 most mysterious video games video that's so bewildering and seemingly broken that no one has ever managed to beat the first level. The game's intense trailer depicts robots sent to Earth to fight crime enslaving humans and turning them evil. Yet the game looks like this. Hints on the developer's website also imply there's more to the game than meets the eye. But when I covered the game back in February, not one of the game's 15 trophies had ever been obtained by any player since the game first appeared in the PlayStation Store in 2016. That is, until this year, when A1R Pun let me know they finally beat the maze minigame right after my video was published, which they did on PS5 with the help of a map created by their friend Lazy and their co-player Rudy calling out directions as they went, thus making A1R Pun the first person to make any progress in this game whatsoever for the first time since the game came out 6 years ago, proving that the game might not be completely impossible. Although the game lags so bad on the PlayStation 4 version, the achievement appears it would have been impossible on the console it was originally released on. Well, now we only have 14 trophies to go, and we still need to beat the first level. Hopefully we can do it soon enough, as multiple members on my Discord have discovered that Denisoft has updated their developer page to include an announcement for Attacking Zegeta 3. Well, let's hope we can actually get past 1% of the game this time, before they come out with Attacking Zegeta 4. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. 2004's Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is considered by many fans the best in the influential stealth series, and one of the greatest works of game director Hideo Kojima, which means it also has an endless stream of bizarre moments, such as when for some reason at a point in the game you climb a ladder for 2 minutes straight, while the game's music theme randomly plays.
With darkness and silence through the night.
Is this done yet? At least, looking at the top looks trippier the further you climb. The ladder sequence comes right after a difficult boss battle with a character named The End, so some players see it as a break where all they have to do is press up on their controller after an hour of trying to outsmart The End. Critics of this sequence, however, feel it is a bit boring, and slows the game down too much when it really could have just been a cutscene, especially pissing off speedrunners who couldn't find a way to make climbing the 300 rungs go any faster. That is until this year when speedrunner Appel found for the first time, 18 years after the game's release, that you can skip the ladder sequence by using what's known as the food sip glitch, the complicated series of inputs that involves equipping various weapons and food items and continuously pressing up while pausing and restarting the game, which causes Snake to T-pose and get shot right into the air, which can be used to get to the top of the ladder in about 5 seconds flat, although it took my friend and collaborator Slippy Slides forever to get it to work. Not just because the glitch is incredibly hard to trigger, but also because it's incredibly hard to land precisely where you need to without dying. So while I'm not exactly sure how time-saving this is for most players, it's still a hell of a lot more satisfying that after 18 years, we finally have a way up this ladder than just holding up for 2 minutes straight. Is this over yet? And thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. War Thunder is one of the most detailed vehicle and authentic combat games ever, with every vehicle modeled to their every individual part. What I was most impressed about the game was that the combat damage affects each individual component on your vehicle, which the developers meticulously try to get as accurate as possible, making this game one of the most dedicated games when it comes to combat realism that I've ever seen. With intense player versus player battles at various immersion levels for all playstyles, War Thunder is definitely worth giving a go on your PC, Xbox, or PlayStation console today. Use my link down below to receive a free bonus pack that includes premium vehicles, a premium count, boosters, and more. Check out War Thunder today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. And if there's anything else you'd like to see me cover, submit through oddheader.com, come join the Discord, or even send me shouts through Twitter or Reddit. And thanks again to Slippy Slides for helping get the footage in this video. Feel free to subscribe to him down below as well. And thank you everyone for another amazing year. I couldn't do any of this without your guys' awesome support. Stay tuned for lots more exciting plans for 2023. Shout out to Angel the Fox, Ash Photography, Andrew FM, Bitwif27, Chad Biscuits, Dear Mid Crowley, Flex, Grow Ups, Ed Moffat, Eddie Talkspin the Bleach Primid, Fox M Cloud 123, Leo Maurer, Miss Arctic Foxy, Rackman22, Red Team Medic, Riley S, Robert Eisenman, Rolkot Mifula, Scaredy, Starcore 2, Tenryu UERnet, Terran Stock, Towerizer, and Jan Benier for their Patreon support. Stay tuned.